Welcome to another episode of Kitchen Table Talk. I'm your host, Nathan again, and I have some very special guests here with me who will be contributing to our conversation today. I have Jennifer Pierce, who is the founder of Empowerment Project. I have Obi Ngene. And today...
Part-time photographer.
True, he takes some really good pictures. So today we'll be talking about transitioning into adulthood and the lessons we're learning, especially because at this stage a lot of us are graduating or moving to a different job, or at that stage where a lot of big decisions have to be made, and we'll be kind of sharing the lessons we're learning at this stage in life and what motivates us and things like that. So the first question would pretty much be like, what does your age feel like? What does this stage of you are in your life feel like for you?
Okay, I'll go first. But like I said, I'm Obi. For me, I'm 23. How do I feel like? I feel like I'm still 19. And I don't say that from the point of view like, okay, in terms of maturity level, but I don't know if you remember like when you were 19. 19 in Canada is like, okay, it's your first bound of freedom. You got to go buy everything, you got to do everything. And when I was 19, looking back now, I was very happy-go-lucky about a lot of things. I was excited about what life has to offer in the future. If you said jump, I'm ready to go and jump into anything. It's that kind of, I felt indestructible, right? And now, as I'm 23, I still have that kind of feeling. Not that I feel indestructible like I did before, but I'm still very optimistic about a lot of things. I'm very happy. I'm just like, if you say jump right now, I'm going to be ready to go and jump and get to the next step in life, because it's been a wonderful ride.
Would you say happy about what lies ahead, or happy about your present state?
I'm happy about both my present state and what lies ahead, because I feel like I also have to kind of explain it, because it's not just the fact that I've automatically always felt this way. Sure, there was a point in time where I felt totally differently from how I feel right now. I just finished university like 3 years ago. I was thinking about, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
When you're in university and in that box of like, you're very safe, you just go to classes and that's it.
Yeah.
But like when you're in the real world, everything changes. So there was that huge amount of fear within me at that period of time. But over the past 3 years, that's kind of changed as a transition into not being pessimistic anymore, but not being optimistic because of a lot of things that have happened. So I'm very excited about what the future will hold.
I find it interesting that when you said for him he feels 19. Because for me I feel 21, which is like because just like in Canada, 19 is where you start doing everything. In America, 21 is when you're legal. Yeah, so that's basically you're like free to do anything. But for me, it's also 21 is the common year for people to graduate in America, and it's that whole idea of what next. And I'm at that point in my life where it's what next? Am I trying to go back home? Am I trying to go for my master's? Or am I trying to get a job? So at this point, I just feel like it's a whole lot of I don't know what I want to do next, but I know I'll be fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I'm really optimistic. Like he said,
I'm kind of like a bit of both of you, but more than anything, at this stage in my life, at 22, I'm just very, very curious. I'm very curious about, the future. I'm curious about acquiring more knowledge, curious to understand things more. And like, apart from that, I'm just very expectant for the future. So that's what my age was like.
Yeah, but I always, because I know it's always different for different people.
Yeah.
Like I know it's possible like some people feel much older, some people feel, depending on what age you're in, there might be more pressure going as you're getting older, because you might feel like you're not yet where you want to be, etc.
Just to add, I think 21 is, especially that graduation stage, where a lot of people feel a lot of pressure. Because honestly, university is a safe zone. Like people are so eager to graduate, but once you graduate, it's like these questions keep on coming. What are you doing after graduation? If you're Nigerian, when are you married? If you're a female,
yes, I already
do you have a husband?
like that.
There's just so many questions. Like especially if you don't have a job, like waiting for you after graduation, it's like, okay, are you what job? What are you doing? Are you coming back home? Are you staying here? The questions are a lot, and especially if you don't have a clear path on the kind of job you want to do or the path you want to take in your career, it's just very daunting and it can be very scary too. And for me, I wouldn't say I have a clear idea of where I want to go in terms of what kind of job, but I just feel like I'm very expectant of all that it holds.
I know we're talking about like our ages and at this point, how we feel, when as per like age or like what we've learned so far. But like I'm really curious about this whole question of what lessons have we learned, from there till now. You will be like next, but like really, but what lessons have we learned? Because we're talking about what age we feel right now. So
What are we doing?
how about that? Yeah.
For me, I think the biggest lesson I'm learning, especially because when I was 17, you have this vision of how the next 4 years are going to be, or the courses you're going to do, the program you're going to be in, how you get this job, and even post undergrad, how after graduation you're going to work in this, especially for me, I wanted to do accounting and you get to work in this bank, you're going to do this. But like from that 17, 18, it really taught me that life is not always going to go as you plan it. And sometimes when you're 17, 18, you feel like, okay, life is supposed to be one straight line. That you figure everything out, that you're supposed to figure everything, you're supposed to know what the future looks like. Well, that's the easier way anyway, you know what the future looks like. But really, it's more cyclical, because sometimes you're on this high, things are going well, and all of a sudden you're all the way down there. And you're unsure of what the future holds, you're unsure what you're doing with your life, you're unsure of so many different decisions that you have to make. But I think for me, what it has taught me is that it's okay, it's okay not to have all the answers. Besides, what are you going to do? If you have all the answers, what are you going to do with all of that? Because I think it's more interesting when you don't, and it's hard though when you don't have all the answers, but I think it's more interesting that way because it makes life one big adventure, because it's not going to go as you plan it, but at the end of the day, if you keep being hopeful and just keep doing what you're doing and doing it well, then you won't end up as bad. It might not be what you pictured, but it won't be as terrible as you make it seem. And really, you're doing better than you are. So that's one of the biggest things. You're doing better than you think you are. And also, life is not one straight line. It's cyclical.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, okay, I don't want to problem, but I think mine might have a long thing. What have I learned? I'll separate what I've learned into two different parts. I'll take it from my 4 years in university and my 3 years, actually my 2 years of work, because I spent 1 year looking for that. So 4 years from university, what I really learned, and I feel for me the biggest learning experience from university was when I ended up doing the whole master thing and master presidency thing, because that involved
being a president of the academy.
Exactly, like being put into a position where you have to make decisions.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was like a long time ago. But it's and at that period in time, it was a very, I think, not a tough decision, but sometimes I look back and I think I made the wrong choice, because it was either I chose to run for that or I chose to do an exchange program abroad. Because that's what, because with my master, you could only do like maybe a second or third year, and my plan was I had to do either. So I couldn't have both, I could only have one or the other. I didn't ended up choosing the presidency position and taking all of that. What I did learn from that is a lot of thinking on my feet, a lot about management. Yes, it's not like business management, like when you're in an office and you're a manager, but then it's still about people.
It's still a vital skill.
You get like a lot of skills which are useful for like the workplace. That's kind of quick summary. I don't know if I was able to really put it together like how for you to understand it, but the biggest thing I really learned from university was from my master experience, going outside of just going into the study books and books, but being more personable, learn how to communicate, learn how to be innovative, all those different things that I got from the club. Not the club, but like my master.
The association.
The association, yeah. Now, when it comes to working, now that has been the biggest learning experience for me, and it's hit me in so many ways, because Nick was mentioning something about how you can feel you're doing, but you're not doing as bad as you think you are, and a lot of things it's very cyclical. Like it's not just a straight path, and everything goes that way. Now I remember when I first started working, my first job after university when I moved to Toronto, because I was in Hamilton, was I was working for a direct marketing company where basically what I had to do was like sign up for credit cards. Like I used to be at the gas station with those orange things, and then like I'm starting to be green, and I'll call them complaining, and I'm like, oh, but I hate this, because I had to pay for my own gas, I had to pay for transportation, I paid for everything myself, and I'd come back making probably $5 every 2 weeks, because it's based on what applications you did. But back then, I did it for about 3 months, which was probably the toughest 3 months of my life. And I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? But I kind of took out the positive spin from it is, I put myself in a position where I'm not making anything. And I survived from it because I learned a few things about how, okay, your work can put you in a position where you're really, really going to hate your job, but at the end of the day, you wake up every morning and you still give it 100%.
You still have to do it.
That was my biggest first, like my first biggest student experience from the workplace. I mean, no matter how
whatever you're doing,
exactly, just give it 100% and go on to the next one. Then about 4 months later, I started working at CIBC, which wow, I didn't remember how I actually got that job. It was very random because I'm applying to every random thing. Like I know everybody's out of university now, and well, not everybody, but it's graduation season, so everybody's probably going to start thinking about, okay, I'm going to get jobs. And the first real truth I'll give you is, don't think you're going to get a job like tomorrow. Actually, like tomorrow when I'm saying tomorrow.
I think you waited about 6 months, even more.
I waited
before the sales one, I think.
Yeah, because it took a long while. Because I was in Hamilton and I moved here.
Yeah.
I didn't move here with a job. I moved here with doubts, right? So I was very fortunate that I had like.
Do you want to find a job in Hamilton?
No, I didn't want. I've been in Hamilton.
There weren't probably as many opportunities as you could get in Toronto.
That's what I believe, and I don't think for my specific field, Hamilton would have been somewhere that I would have had to be. So I just kind of told myself, okay, once my lease is done, I'm moving. Whether I have one or not, I'm going to look for something. And it took me a long while. So usually, the first piece of advice I usually tell people who are graduating is, don't really expect it today or tomorrow. And if it doesn't come today or tomorrow, don't really beat yourself up down for it, because there's 1,000 people who are applying for that same position.
Yeah.
Right? So if, let's say, you apply for just one and you don't get that one, then apply to 2 more, apply to 3 more, just keep on
applying.
Just keep on going, and it's a hard piece of advice to give to people, because I've been in that position and I know, somebody's telling it to you and you know it's like
harder than you think.
Exactly, when you're going through it, it's tough. But back to what I was mentioning in terms of like how I started from CIBC. I was hired for something, which is like, I think I was doing chat specialist at that time, and I was put to do telephone banking sales as a form of training. So at that period in time, I've done sales jobs before. So doing this sales job again was kind of like, okay, I don't want to do this. So now I'm doing something which I didn't sign up for, and something which I totally hate, but you have to really learn how to wake up in the morning and just give your all. And at the time, I was lucky enough to get like good feedback from my managers and everybody because of how professional I was and how I learned things quickly. These are things that I didn't think were important, because I just thought, okay, I learned quickly, I try and give ideas, I try and do
which goes to show you're doing better than you think you are.
But
but you didn't seem, no, but like at that point it didn't seem like you were really doing much, but like once you got that feedback from your manager, it really showed you that, okay, maybe I'm not doing as badly as.
Yeah, it gives you that impression, but it's kind of like when you remember, like,
it's easier when you've gone out of it, but when you're in it, it doesn't seem like that.
Because you're just living your day.
You're trying to make it people are watching. Yeah.
There are people who see, because when you go to school, you don't go to school thinking, okay, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be working at a job where they're going to keep me from 2 to 10, Sunday to Thursdays, and all I'm doing is I'm answering the phone every day and trying to sell things. So I'm not sure if you went to school and I thought that was what you're going to tell also.
Yeah,
there's that thing, and that was like a big
Well, I do want to know, did you apply, to be honest, did you apply anything that you learned from your coursework in the real world?
That's something I've always been. Like, especially this education. Like, I don't have anything against education. I think it's very important, but I think also, I won't say it's overrated, but because you find that you come out of school and you're not even doing, you maybe did accounting, you end up doing something totally different from accounting. Or even if you're doing accounting, you realize that your skill set is not compatible. Or after graduating, you don't have the skills needed, which is why most times other people other than yourself get employed, because you don't have the right skill set for the job.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, a lot of people focus on like the theory part.
Yeah, which is why a lot of programs now have that work experience added to it. Community service, co-op, that kind of thing, which is helpful for the skill sets part of it.
For my own piece, like I agree with you, but also just because when I'm analyzing things, I like to see 2 sides. I totally agree with you in terms of like how education. Not that it's overrated.
No, I don't mean it's overrated, but just lack of better.
I think there's an ideology certain that, okay, if I go to school for 4 years and I study this certain course and I get this certain grade and I do this certain, like I get this particular accommodation, exactly, and I just go by the book, when I come out, of course I'm going to guarantee them 10,000 a year, for example. Let's give an example, right? And the thing is, you have to also remember is there's probably what 10 to 15,000 universities, and 15,000 universities have an exponential number of students in those universities. So sure, you're doing everything by the book, and everything is, yeah, you've gotten your grades, you've gotten your schools, you've gotten all that, but then there's also somebody who's doing that exact same thing, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? So it's kind of, you have to decide for yourself, what do you want versus what do people think that you should want, or what people want you to want, right? So with me, I started with, okay, if I start, my first thing before I got to Canada, I was like, okay, I want to be a petroleum engineer, because I thought I was a petroleum engineer. So I was like, okay, I want to do that. And at some point, I wanted to be an architect, and I wanted to be, right? I had all these ideas. Then I came here, and I did engineering all the way through until my first year. And my first year, I was like, extremely, my first year was horrible, because I was just very lazy about the whole thing. I wasn't on campus. But my first year was the first time I ever took a course outside of my science requirements, which was an arts course. Before I was considered arts to be below par. Because if you're in Nigeria, boys, you're like,
you're not an engineer, if you're not doing medicine, then
business.
Everything is, you're not going to make it. Like,
that
was my whole idea. But then I took an arts, which was economics at the time, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting and I like it. So then I switched to economics, but then I switched without even knowing what it was all about. I just did it because I liked it.
You liked the first
right? I did it all the way through like fourth year, and then third year I started doing like accounting courses to kind of see, okay, what's the vibe and what's everything. By the time I finished university, I was thinking, okay, I want to do my chartered accountant thing, all without knowing what I really want to do, but I've just kind of got some different courses to get a grasp of the different ideas and everything. So when the next step was, okay, I'm done university, you should be thinking about grad school. Now that's where I kind of put the roadblock, because I've done 3 different types of courses, all of which I'm not even sure which ones I even like, right? So if I'm going to go to grad school, what am I going to go and focus on in grad school? And this is just my opinion. I feel like when a lot of people are going to grad school now it's still
a safety net. Remember,
yeah, exactly. It's a safety net.
Not for everyone, but like for me, a lot of people have been around. It's like, okay, after undergrad, they're going straight into grad school. And I'm like, what are you going to do in grad school? Like,
I mean, I advise this for courses like engineering, where
that's what I'm saying. It's different for different people, especially if you know that, okay, I did econ, but I want to study, like I want to go into another that part of econ, that part of econ and study it more. And then, okay, you have a legit reason. But I think that sometimes people just say, okay, grad school, because it's still a safety net, and university was a safety 4 years. When your parents call you, I'm in class, I'm going, you have an answer for them. But when you're out of school, like undergrad, and you don't have a job, you're still unsure of what you're doing. It's like you don't have an answer. But university gives you that fixed answer. Okay, I'm either in class, or I'm studying for this midterm, or that kind of thing. So that's why I'm like, it's not bad, but I just feel like sometimes people tend to rush into masters right after undergrad because it's still a safety net.
And this whole rush thing, I mean, even from my own lessons learned, this whole rush thing is one thing I learned from being undergrad and coming as a semi-international student is that everything happens for a reason. I was in community college, which is like kind of what you guys in Canada. I don't know what you guys do here.
But we still call it college, right?
Yeah, like that's CIC.
Oh, you mean like pre-university?
Pre-university. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing basically. I think I was like in international studies. So I came after that, and I became a history major because in my this pre-college, all my history classes I was getting A because I wouldn't study. So to me it was like I might as well just graduate with a 4.0. When I graduate, I'll find something to do. And like midway in sophomore year, just going back to this whole thing and reiterating that everything has a reason. I went all the way to like Native American education. Because in our school now you have to do community service and you have to have it on your resume so that when you go out in the workforce people can say, okay, he's giving back to the community. But I went there and I did a whole lot of things about community development and minority rights. And after I came back, I made this big decision out of nowhere that I was going to go and create my major. And nothing in the school satisfied me. I don't even know how many courses we have in University of Maryland, but I just went and I created my own major. And it was a big leap of faith. My parents did not like the idea. A lot of people were like, "Oh, is that even possible?" My brother was really concerned that my degree would have individual studies, like basically like individual studies.
It's a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah. But I just when I walked into that office, you see people were doing historical preservation. One guy was doing like the pursuit of happiness, or whatever was it?
As a course.
And he's pre-med. No, he's doing really well. Like I think he's actually going to med school as a course. And I was just doing like global development and diplomacy, which was something very common in the school because our school didn't have that. But I think that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. The coursework, just learning basic skills, because you have to do like mini co-ops with a lot of people, but basically like prepping yourself in a professional world even before graduating. Really taught me anything. So one thing I would definitely tell people, especially undergrads, people who are watching this as students, let everything flow. Do not wait and say, "Oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. This person said this." Every two lives are different. Two paths are different. So, go for what you want to do. Everything will work out well. Explore. Don't just stay and say, "Oh, I want to finish all my grades." Man, grades were there, but I was the one studying abroad, jumped on board. Community service, jumped on board. And everything just culminates and just becomes that personal experience.
Because at the end of the day, like how we're saying, education sometimes from people is all theory. Like you want to make sure you have that travel experience. I can't emphasize it enough. That because it opens up, your worldview. It allows you to see things from different sides. It just allows you to learn so much more that you wouldn't have learned in the confines of the classroom. And it also goes to to add on to what you said, to be unafraid of going into uncharted territory. Like how this is a program that wasn't even offered in your school, and you still went ahead with it because you believed in what you wanted to do.
Yeah, graduation day, man. So funny, but every single person, all 15 of us cried because it's not easy. When you're doing it, everybody is discouraging everything. People like making all major. Wow. I'm not even sure the president of our school even support program per se. Yeah, because to us like the ones who there or whatever. But best decision I ever made in my life. It really made me more optimistic about going, my next steps forward. And this whole life lessons learned. I love that you did the two sides, the professional and the work. And then just even talking about like us being young and growing up in another man's country as a young my dear. First thing first, your life is for you alone to live. You cannot live your life
According to someone else.
or other people. Because at the end of the day, it's you that is going to answer your first and last name. There is no there's no two negative, there's no other way we get it. You have to learn. It's hard, especially as a young person trying to move into social groups. Moving into social groups. At the end of the day, you're going to answer to your name alone. You have to really try and own who you really are. Yes, some people may, follow other people and maybe fall by the wayside in terms of like depression or friendship, all these things that young people experience.
Yeah, that's what the important part of like growing. I don't think falling by the wayside is a bad thing per se, because as long as you still get up and you still keep on that path, because everyone falls off at some point.
What doesn't kill you makes you
exactly. You fall off, but like most important, I think it's very important for us as young people to know who we are. To know what we like, what our vision is, because a lot of times, especially this social media age, there's so many voices. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I tell people a lot. It's very important to have me time.
But then sorry to cut you off actually, but then what that brings up would actually, it's good that you actually brought up a lot of coming to your own and how to find yourself. So basically the next thing is now like, okay, how does one person find himself and how does one person stay motivated towards finding themselves or achieving their future goals, which I believe will be the next section of what we'll